I hope you're doing well. Welcome into the game here in Tuscaloosa.
Ron, how you doing, man?
I'm very well, man. Better than Oxford, Mississippi this afternoon. Let me just get your gut reaction from everything that's happening there in Oxford, Mississippi. An amended notice of allegations.
Yeah, an amended notice of allegations where 7 more level 1 allegations against Ole Miss and the football program. And they self-impose a bowl ban, Ole Miss does. And the NCAA, one of the violations is lack of institutional control. And, and obviously cites Hugh Freeze, too. So, it's not a good day. You look at this, you look at the seniors in the class, and so they'll go to the weight room. Most everybody's already listed around the country today. They'll go to the weight room tomorrow morning knowing that they won't go to a bowl game. And I guess if there's any juniors that would be going to the NFL. So, you think about that, and then you think about the fact that they're going to have to fight this lack of institutional control and what the NCAA is alleging in this this round of the notice of allegations. And they're going to have to hope that the Committee on Infractions will mitigate the from level 1 to level 2 or 3, or it's even going to get worse, Ron.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't this get to double-digit level 1 violations now?
It does, yeah. With the 7 new ones, allegedly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
now you're at.
Is it 13, 14? Am I right? I'm just counting them in my head.
No, level 1s, you're at 15.
15.
I think that's right. 15 level 1s. Alleged.
Alleged, right. We have to use that word, but I mean...
I will say this, Ron. In their response, here's what a lot of people haven't looked at, and a lot of Ole Miss fans haven't read their response from last January's NOA. In their response last summer to the first notice of allegations, I know this kind of gets, this lingo and stuff, may get a little confusing, but in their response, they acknowledged a lot of wrongdoing. Yeah, we did that. Yeah, but, yeah, we acknowledge that. Yeah, we acknowledge that. Yeah, we acknowledge that. Oh, we think this should be mitigated to level 2, da-da-da-da-da. But right now they are facing, I want to say 15 or 16 level 1. That is
major.
That's major. I mean, look, when you get investigated, I mean, there's no grabbing a number out of the air, but I mean, if you come under investigation, you're hoping 1 or 2, max 3 level 1s, Ron, not double digits.
Will this cost Hugh Freeze's job?
They're going to have to present one heck of a case to the Committee on Infractions. Because here's what happens, Ron, you know this. On one side is the NCAA Enforcement Division, right? They present their case.
Sure.
And then Ole Miss, along with their attorneys, and a lot of these people have their own personal attorneys, will present their case. They better hope that the Committee on Infractions, the interpretation favors Ole Miss and not the NCAA Enforcement Division interpretation of the rule book, especially with this new penalty matrix, Ron, which does, I mean, look, they've been slapping show causes on coaches left and right here recently. So I wouldn't be sleeping well at all if I was named in this, in the last notice of allegation or this notice of allegation or both. How about that?
I haven't had time because I've been on the air, but have you watched any of this 20-minute?
I did.
Okay. What was your big takeaway?
Until you called me.
Okay.
I caught all but the last 3.5 minutes.
Okay. What was your reaction from that press conference or so-called announcement? Or, I mean, they dressed him up in a suit and tie and put him in a stage, but what was your initial thoughts?
Well, the bowl ban, when Ross Bjork, the AD, said, hey, after careful consideration, this is not verbatim,
right.
But yeah, after he went through everything and basically kind of gave us an idea of what not 100% agree with, but then he let us know what they would, definitely contest. When he said bowl ban, I went, whoa. I mean, it wasn't going to surprise me, Ron, if I was on an island in South America and you called me 4 months from now and said Ole Miss received a bowl ban from the Committee on Infractions. But for Ole Miss to self-impose going into the deal, to me, that's a wow. Ross threw out the figure that, and again, he was just guessing that this would cost Ole Miss about $7.8 million, and every $1 million in collegiate athletics counts and matters, because they wouldn't be in line to receive the bowl money like all the member institutions do, along with the SEC. As you know, they split it 15 ways, 14 schools, and then Birmingham.
And that's about $8 million. 7.8, I think, is one some figures out there that are being thrown around, or maybe some of the based on the last figures. We're talking to Bo Bounds right now from Jackson, Mississippi, ESPN 105.9. As we move forward, we're talking about the big letter, the amended notice of allegations that the NCAA has slapped on Ole Miss. Bo, this is the way I'm reading this. To me, this is like looking, if you're the NCAA, knowing that you've got a full house and you know the other guys only have two of a kind and you're anteing it up. To me, the NCAA just doubled down.
And look, just because you offer up X, Y, and Z doesn't mean that the Committee on Infractions will be lenient when they hand down the sanction. They may, again, who knows how that committee will digest and come up with sanctions. But you're talking about if you just say it out loud to yourself, double-digit level ones. That right there, you would have to believe that there's a lot more coming. Now that they've offered 3 years, 11 scholarships. I don't know how many they've already docked. Okay, there's some that claim that they took some last February and this February and whatever. But 3 years, 11 scholars, and a bowl ban is what they have when they walk in the door to meet with the Committee on Infractions. Ron.
Oh, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm not sure. I go back to Alabama when Alabama got hit in the mouth. And you got to remember, Ole Miss is going to pay the price, not just for Ole Miss, but the SEC. This, to me, is the NCAA going to establish that they have credibility, that they have investigation power, that they can still, they need to have some fear tactics. And to me, I think Ole Miss, unfortunately, will be paying the example for the SEC, because outside of this league, everybody thinks that that's all we do is cheat within the SEC. You go to Big Ten country, the reason why they think we're successful in the South is they cheat. To me, Ole Miss, this may be, and this is the unfortunate part, this may be a crippling to a program that was on the rise. This may knock their feet out from under them, and this program may slip a long way in the toughest division in all of college football.
Oh, well, I think the momentum deal, that's over. The top 5 and top 10 recruiting classes, that ship has sailed. I really think you got to find out who you are and what you are. At the end of the day, Ole Miss is much more of a number 20 recruiter than a number 3 recruiter. And so, it'll be interesting to see what Freeze does. You already had a bunch of guys leave, Ron, for jobs to kind of scratch your head, Grant Hurd was their wide receivers coach, and he played at Ole Miss. He took the same position at Indiana. I think they slapped a co-OC on it, but I mean, Ron, when I get up on Saturday morning during football season, I don't think about Indiana football. Do you?
No, not at all.
Okay. I mean, I don't even think about Indiana basketball anymore. So, but anyway, Indiana football, when I get up and turn on game day and start thinking about everything that I'm going to do that day, Hoosier football is not one of the top 200 things. So anyway, this wasn't hard to connect the dots on some of the stuff. And but hey, the university's going to go in there and try to give it their all with Freeze. He's got a lot of money left on his contract. Now, if you fire him with cause and it stands, then I'm not saying today. I'm talking about as this thing continues to unfold. Then you're off the hook. You would think, I have no idea, but it sure looks like allegedly, if some of this other stuff is true. By the way, Freeze was named in the first notice of allegations, Ron, last January. He was named in that. So they're going to go to the mat whenever that is, April, May, June, with him. And this is going to be fascinating to see because of what you just said. What is the NCAA going to do? And again, remember this, Ron, there's a new penalty matrix. And they have decided that coaches will be held accountable for their 9 assistants and all the in-house people, all the recruiting analysts and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's something that when I did this months ago, printed all that out, printed out their first notice of allegations, compared the two, and it didn't look good then. Now, with 7 more level ones, man, I don't know how confident you feel when you go into the committee on infractions in however long it is, 4 or 5 months.
Even though
because Ole Miss, by the way, Ole Miss has 90 days to respond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bo, to me, if Ole Miss is smart, I mean, this is just you and I talking this out. If Ole Miss is smart, I'm not sure they don't throw Hugh Freeze under the bus. I'd make him the scapegoat and I'd fire him. In other words, I would say, is this pleasing? Because if not, this may be because I think you can find a coach better than you can recover from sanctions and major. To me, I wonder if the NCAA would take that. Because that's the NCAA getting what they want by sending that a message that either you obey the rules or there's consequences. I don't know. I mean, this just, like I said, I'm just talking this out. I don't
Sure.
know if you're Ole Miss and your administrators behind the scenes, they're not going to talk in this publicly, but I wonder privately if there's not some discussions going. Should we?
Well, I think I have no idea, but I would have to believe there have been some of those discussions. Here's what they've got to do at this point. They have to ask themselves, do we stay with him and go all the way to the Committee on Infractions and see what their ruling is? And if it's so severe that we can't keep him and we can fire him with cause, where does that leave us as far as hiring a coach in the summer? Or did they feel like they could do it now? They may not feel like they can do it now because of how much money is left on his contract, Ron. He was fully extended after they won the Sugar Bowl. And in the state of Mississippi, you can be fully extended 4 years. So technically, he has 3 more years, if that makes sense. And
but they don't have any causes built into this that they.
I would think so.
Okay,
I would think so. But I mean, I don't think so. I know so. I mean, every coach does. So yes, they just like any other coach. If you're caught because of NCAA level 1 violations, or you're caught with if you get a DUI, or if you are cocaine, or if you're caught with another one, whatever. Like Petrino, you can fire
Sure.
with cause. I just evidently I don't know. You have to ask yourself if it's the boosters that have told Dr. Bitter and Ross Bjork that we're going to stay with Ross for another. With Coach Hugh Freeze for another few months, or if they feel like this needs to play out in front of the Committee on Infractions before they make a move either way. But I'm going to say a 1-year bowl ban is devastating. I mean, look, last year when they got it, They got it Friday going into a big recruiting weekend, and they told all those parents, according to many in the media, they told all those parents that it was all the previous staff, women's track and field and women's hoops, right? And they went on, and a lot of those kids stayed with them, and they ended up signing a top 5 class. Well, those guys as freshmen didn't go to a bowl game because of record, and those guys as sophomores will not go to a bowl game. And so my question is, and look, they may have a super year. I mean, I would think a super year would be 8-4, kind of considering where they are right now. But you also have to question, can they do that us against the world thing when you got to go to weights at 5 a.m. in February, March, April, June, July, and then when you get in the season, you're getting the snot, knocked out of you, and everybody starts to get hurt, and the ache and the pain and all this starts to set in 3 weeks in, 6 weeks in, 9 weeks in. You have to ask yourself, okay, we're not going anywhere with sunshine or somewhere cool with bowl swag or somewhere for 5 nights in a beautiful hotel and restaurant, maybe catch an NBA or NFL team, depending on where they send us. That's all out the door. You have to ask yourself, will the motivation and hunger and edge still be there, right?
Bo, let's this right here to me summarizes, and you've been on top of this. You've had your finger on the pulse there in Jackson, Mississippi, and throughout the state. We're talking to Bo Bounds, final couple of minutes with him. This sort of puts everything in a nutshell, and this is part of the allegations. Ole Miss boosters, this is part of the allegations. Ole Miss boosters paid between $13,000 and $15,000 in benefits to a particular player that never even went to Ole Miss.
Right.
In other words, there was just a bank handing out money. Now, this is a recruit that they did not get. This was a player that went to another college. I don't know which college, you may or may not, but
yeah, I don't know. The media in Oxford has decided to turn this into an MSU Ole Miss thing. You're smarter than that, Ryan. You know that other schools in the league have raised their eyebrows.
Well, there was that burner phone story that was out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to several other programs kind of got this thing kicked off if you talk to people in and around the SEC. But Ole Miss has kind of changed in their narrative, I guess, the last couple of days to blame this on MSU, and this was not driven out of Starkville. And then there's some talk maybe that also FSU was part of driving this and maybe another school outside of the SEC. But the bottom line is right now they've offered, and this is what will happen, we know for sure, is 11 scholarships in a bowl ban. Now, how many show causes will come out of it? They had multiple coaches listed in the first notice of allegation. Now, we'll have to see which coach, because they refer to them as like A and B and so on, So we'll have to see which coaches are named and what the Committee on Infractions thinks. But that UCLA offensive line coach, received a show cause recently. My God, he received a show cause with 2 kids who signed with UCLA. And after they signed with UCLA, he hooked them up with a training facility in Phoenix. So it's not like he was slinging, $6,000 to them, $7,000, $8,000, and trying to get them to sign. The 2 guys had already signed, and the guy still got show cause. So, I mean, that's something to –
This.
Oh, and by the way, every single coach that was listed in the women's track and field and women's basketball part of this investigation for Ole Miss received a show cause.
Well, I wonder how many times we can run Hugh Freeze out there on the SEC network and talk about how bad the other coaches are in this league and how they're recruiting negatively against us. And I'll remember those guys that, I mean, Bo, some of this stuff, and I'm talking about the spin cycle coming out of Oxford. I mean, some of this stuff is laughable, my friend. I mean, they've spent probably $7 million. I know they're going to lose 7.8, But look at the money they've spent on the spin cycle. Tons.
Well, and
it makes it
odd.
comedy. It makes it comedy, my friend.
Well, and I've got to continue to kind of digest what they did today. You know, I mean, the chancellor, the AD, and the head coach coming out the way they did. But now they have several more months before they get in front of the Committee on Infractions and actually receive their sanctions. Let me ask you this. How do you think that's going to play, knowing what they told all those recruits last year on that Friday that the notice of or whenever it was, right? I think it was Friday, that the notice of allegations hit, and they had parents and prospects on campus. I don't know. I'll be interested to see. Right now, any of the seniors, I don't know, how does it work? Any of the seniors can, I think this is the way the NCAA runs the numbers. That's what they did with USC. Depending on how many years you receive a bowl ban is how many classes can transfer without sitting out. So it's just a 1-year bowl ban. It's just the seniors. Then you get a 2, it's the juniors and the seniors, and so on and so forth. I want to say that's the way it works.
Bo Bounds, I appreciate you on such a short notice, man. I don't know what to say, man. I'm really speechless, to be honest with you. I mean, I know we've talked for about 20 minutes, man, but this is now so bad that it will affect the league. I mean, this is not just an Ole Miss problem. This is
I would think. Hey, look, Commissioner Greg Sankey, I feel quite confident he's had enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he's head of the enforcement. I won't get the term exactly right. He's not enforcement division is not what I'm talking about, but I think that the Committee on Infractions and all those committees. Yeah. But anyway, I would think Commissioner Sankey's had enough at this point, for sure.